spooky story, The Haunted Forest. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting long, skeletal shadows across the path that led to the edge of the haunted forest. Its ancient trees loomed like sentinels, their gnarled branches reaching out as if to ensnare any who dared to enter. Locals spoke of the forest in hushed tones, warning of the malevolent spirits that were said to haunt its depths. For generations, the town of Blackwood had stood on the outskirts of the haunted forest, its residents avoiding the dark expanse like a sinister secret. But as the years passed, a new generation emerged, one less bound by old superstitions. Among them was Sarah, a young woman with a curious spirit and an insatiable thirst for adventure. Sarah had always been drawn to the unknown, and the legends of the haunted forest intrigued her. She had heard tales of phantom figures that wandered beneath there, twisted boughs, and of eerie cries that echoed in the stillness of the night. The forest seemed to call to her, beckoning her to uncover its secrets. One moonless night, unable to resist the allure any longer, Sarah set out for the haunted forest. The air was cool and heavy with the scent of damp earth, and the only sound was the distant cry of a solitary owl. She walked along the edge of the trees, her heart pounding in her chest. The forest seemed to pulse with a palpable energy, as if it held its breath in anticipation of her arrival. The ancient trees stood like silent sentinels, their twisted roots clinging to the earth. Sarah could feel the weight of centuries in their presence. As she ventured deeper, the path grew narrower, and the underbrush grew thick and tangled. The air grew colder, and a sense of foreboding settled over Sarah like a heavy shroud. But she pressed on, determined to uncover the truth that lay hidden within the haunted depths. After what felt like hours, Sarah stumbled upon a clearing. At its center stood a dilapidated cabin, its timbers weathered and worn. It seemed to sag beneath the weight of years, a silent witness to the secrets that the forest held. With trepidation, Sarah approached the cabin. The door creaked open on rusty hinges, revealing a dim interior shrouded in shadow. The air inside was thick with the scent of decay, and dust motes danced in the pale light that filtered through the grimy windows. Sarah's footsteps echoed through the empty cabin, each sound magnified in the stillness. She felt as though she were intruding on a place that had long been forgotten by time. And then, as if from nowhere, a voice echoed through the cabin. It was a soft, mournful whisper, the words unintelligible but filled with a sense of longing. Sarah's heart raced, her breath coming in quick, shallow gasps. She turned, her eyes scanning the room, but there was no one to be seen. The voice seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves, as if the very air held the echoes of a long-forgotten presence. As Sarah stood in the cabin, a sudden realization washed over her. The forest, it seemed, determined to uncover the truth. Sarah returned to the town of Blackwood and delved into the history of the haunted forest. She sought out old journals and dusty archives, piecing together fragments of a story that had long been buried in the annals of time. She learned of a woman named Eliza, who had lived in the cabin at the heart of the forest. Eliza, it seemed, had been an outcast, shunned by the townspeople for reasons unknown. She had sought solace in the embrace of the trees, finding a connection to the natural world that others could not understand. But as the years passed, Eliza's isolation had taken its toll. The forest, once a place of refuge, had become a prison, its shadows growing darker and more foreboding with each passing day. And then one fateful night, Eliza had disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only the echo of her presence in the haunted depths. Sarah knew that she had to return to the forest, to confront the spirits that lingered within its depths. She armed herself with knowledge and a sense of purpose, determined to uncover the truth behind Eliza's disappearance. As she stood once again at the edge of the haunted forest, the air seemed to crackle with an otherworldly energy. The trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches reaching out in a silent plea. Sarah entered the forest, her steps purposeful and resolute. She followed the path that led her deeper into the heart of the woods, her senses alert to the slightest hint of a presence. Finally, she arrived at the clearing, at the cabin that had once been Eliza's sanctuary. The air inside was heavy with the weight of the past. And then, as if in response to her presence, the cabin seemed to come alive. Shadows danced on the walls, and a soft, mournful voice echoed through the room. Sarah listened, her heart pounding in her chest. The voice spoke of longing and despair, of a soul that had been bound to the forest for eternity. With a sense of purpose, Sarah spoke aloud, addressing the unseen presence that lingered in the cabin. She offered her help, her voice a beacon of hope in the darkness. And then, in the stillness that followed, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Eliza, her form translucent and ethereal. Her eyes, filled with a mixture of sadness and gratitude, met Sarah's gaze. "You've come," Eliza whispered, her voice a soft, haunting melody. "Help me, please." Sarah nodded, her determination unwavering. She knew that she had uncovered a truth that had long been hidden, a connection between the living and the dead that could not be denied. Together, Sarah and Eliza embarked on a journey that would take them through the haunted depths of the forest. They uncovered clues and performed rituals, determined to unravel the threads of the past. Finally, on a night when the moon hung low in the sky, they stood before the cabin once more, with a sense of purpose and a heart full of hope. Sarah recited the incantation that would bridge the gap between the living and the dead. As the final words left her lips, a surge of energy pulsed through the cabin. The walls seemed to tremble, as if the very foundation of the forest itself was responding to their presence. And then, with a blinding flash of light, the cabin seemed to come alive. The air was charged with an otherworldly energy, and Sarah felt a profound shift in the atmosphere. Eliza's form began to dissolve, her face transformed into an expression of peace and serenity. She reached out to Sarah, her fingers brushing against hers. "Thank you," Eliza whispered, her voice a gentle breeze that seemed to caress Sarah's skin. "You have set me free." And with that, Eliza was gone, leaving behind a sense of stillness and peace. The cabin seemed to sigh with relief, as if the very walls rejoiced in Eliza's liberation. Sarah knew that she had fulfilled her purpose, that she had unraveled the mysteries that had bound Eliza to the forest for so long. As she left the cabin, the first light of dawn painted the horizon, casting a warm, golden hue over the land. Word of Sarah's encounter with Eliza spread throughout Blackwood, and the townspeople spoke of her with a mixture of awe and gratitude. The legend of the haunted forest had finally come to an end, replaced by a story of redemption and compassion. As the years passed, the forest underwent a transformation. Its ancient trees, once shrouded in darkness and foreboding, now stood as silent sentinels, guardians of a newfound serenity. The haunted forest became a place of solace and reflection, a sanctuary for those who sought a connection to the natural world. And Sarah, forever changed by her encounter with Eliza, continued to explore the mysteries of the supernatural. She knew that some stories could not be contained within the pages of a book, but instead lived on in the whispers of the wind and the shadows of the night, waiting to be discovered by those who dared to listen.